started the Glo-Bus simulation, we used a lot of dynamic strategy because the outside factors of the industry change every year, as well as our competitors in the industry would change every year, which forced our company to adapt and change with it. We also would take the time to see what the leader in our industry was doing and try to take some pointers from them. It was not the best thing, however, for our company and left us at a competitive disadvantage. We were constantly putting money into research and development to innovate our products and make them more cost affordable for our customers, whereas we should have taken that money and used it as profit. We also were not paying our PATs enough money to keep them working hard for us. We would get bad reports year after year, and we thought if we took money away from the PATs as punishment, it would turn them around, but it backfired and left us at another competitive disadvantage.
No, we did not keep the same strategy throughout the simulation. After year 11, we had developed a strategic alliance with a company in the other industry. They had given us some tips that would help us gain some of the market share back. Our strategy had shifted to scenario planning, where we incorporated more of a what-if analysis, intending to gain a sustainable competitive advantage over our competitors.
After consulting with the other company, they advised us not to put as much money into R&D since we were already putting so much money into it. Also, we weren't being as cost effective with our advertising. So we started to distribute most of our advertising to regions that we were down in market share, such as North America and Europe, Africa, and reduce the costs in Asia Pacific and Latin America. Another huge problem for us was our wages that we were paying our PATs. We weren't paying our PATs enough, which in turn was affecting their productivity. We decided to increase the base salary by 2% in order to increase the PAT productivity. Also, we increased incentives in order to reduce the warranty claims. The company strategy that we most closely emulated was AutoNation back in 2009. During 2009, Mike Jackson was the chairman and CEO at AutoNation, and he implemented scenario planning. This helped his company flourish during a time when many auto companies were going out of business. Many CEOs tend to plan based on averages, but Jackson stayed away from this because, as we all know from Glo-Bus, what the actual numbers are pretty much never what the averages or what last year's numbers were. Instead, Jackson evaluated more specific possible outcomes. He realized that his company could reduce their inventory levels and increase their emphasis on service operations, which led to their big success during a difficult time for auto companies. We can relate this to our strategy because, like many companies, we used to base our decisions based on what the industry average was and based on what our last year's performance was. Once we stopped focusing so much on these factors and started focusing more on specifics such as how exchange rates affected how much we shipped, how salaries and incentives affected our productivity, and how much advertising that we put into the different regions, we found ourselves a lot more successful.
But what should you bring home? You see a black man with a white woman at the top floor, they gon' come to kill King Kong. Middle America.
When it came to exchange rates, in the beginning, we would just send as many units as we could to each region, regardless if it was a negative or a positive exchange rate. After meeting with our company in Industry 25, we decided to send as many units as we could in regions that had only a positive exchange rate. With the regions that had a negative exchange rate, we would send less so that we would not be as in debt.
Back then, came to see me in my black skin. Number one question they asking.
We wish we could have met with the company from the other industry earlier in the simulation, so we could have had a better chance of succeeding in our industry. In year 8, we drastically changed our strategy, which backfired on us, where we should have just stuck to the same strategy throughout. We also would have taken the help sections more seriously because they really do offer great guidance and help you with decision making. Another change we would have made was to not cut the PAT's pay for multiple years because it drastically reduced our company's productivity.
If I don't get ran at by Catholics, it comes to conservative Baptists, claiming I'm overreacting like the...
Our industry life cycle begins at introduction, where we began by putting a lot of money into R&D and advertising. This led to our growth stage, where we had high demand for our product and were able to capture a good amount of the market share. We hit our maturity stage in year 7, when our competition increased and our market growth had plateaued. Our decline stage began in year 8, when we decided to change our strategy. We hit an all-time low in week 11, which led to us forming a strategic alliance with a company in Industry 25. We decided to implement more of a scenario planning technique into our strategy, which has brought us back to the growth stage, which is where we are now.
Here we have developed a competitive scope for our entry-level camera and our multi-feature camera. This has helped us establish our position in the market throughout the simulation. At the beginning of the simulation, we developed a cost leadership style for our entry-level camera due to the fact that our prices were at the middle of the pack. They weren't too high, they were not too low. With our multi-feature camera, we started out the simulation more of a focused cost leadership just due to the fact that we only had one model. Later in the simulation, we decided to add another model, which then changed our focus to more of a differentiation.
Keep it 300, like the Romans, 300 Ipsis, where the Trojans, baby, we living in the moment.
If there's something that our team wishes we could have done in the Glo-Bus simulation, it would have been able to buy out another company or be bought out by another company. In other terms, horizontal integration. This would have allowed a huge competitive advantage in our industry and made the stock prices of both those companies skyrocket. Another thing we wish would have been allowed in the Glo-Bus simulation was more financial opportunities. For example, being able to buy and sell stock in another company in your industry. Another would have been able to align with another company in your industry to gain market share in a specific region. This would have allowed for a greater competitiveness in the industry and making big-time power moves in your company.
Our strengths for our company were, first of all, our multi-feature camera, which is where most of our revenue came from and was consistently at the higher end of the industry average. Also, our credit rating was a strength. Our credit rating was either an A or an A+ for the whole simulation. This is due to our ability to pay off our loans every year. And another strength of ours was our continuous success in Latin America. This was our best region throughout the whole simulation.
So follow me, about to go.
Here are some of our main weaknesses of our company. Our biggest weakness was our high labor costs. High labor costs were due to our low base salaries that we were paying and a lack of incentives. Also, what contributed to our high labor costs was we did a lot of outsourcing, which drove up our labor costs. High labor costs led to also contributed to our low productivity from our pads. Low productivity was again due to our cutting base salaries and also again our lack of incentives. Another weakness was our image rating, which was low due to us not taking the time to invest in going green or contributing to charities.
I'm out of control, but there's nowhere to go. And there's nowhere.
Nice. Oh, hello. I purchased stock after year 11 when the company plummeted, but I figured there'd only be room to grow from there. It was a risky move, but I stuck with the company. In year 14, I sold it for a massive profit when it hit its highest peak, and I actually purchased Beethoven's old piano. So, yeah, things are going pretty well right now.
If I knew what I knew in the past, I would have been like that on your way.
This has been one great camera purchase. This company has the best warranty in the market, and anytime I need support with all the technology on this, they are always there for me. It is a customer-focused company, the tech support is none other, and the warranty is the best. I love what I got.
one thing that I've learned from this simulation that I can use in real life is to give your employees a fair wage and to give them opportunities to gain bonuses and incentives. Because if you have an increased wages and incentives for employees, that will improve your productivity for your company, which will lead to more success for your company.
One thing that I learned from this simulation that I'll take with me into the real world is that your strategy is really important. When we started out the simulation, we really didn't have a sense of direction that we were going with our strategy. So what I would do is really evaluate your strategy, the steps that you're going to take, and once you have come up with the steps that you're going to take, stick to them and don't veer from it and don't deviate from your strategy.
The one thing I learned from the simulation that I can take to real life is the importance of staying proactive rather than being reactive. If you're reactive to what other companies are doing, you're always going to be behind. And it is important to stay innovative and stay ahead of the game so that you can constantly have a competitive advantage over other companies.
Can we get much higher?
So high.